Welcome to the Healing Waves Reiki podcast. I'm your host, Cathy Reiki Master Teacher, spiritual mentor, intuitive, and physical therapist. This is a grounded, heart-centered space where we explore Reiki, energy, and the science and spirit of healing. How Reiki supports the body, deepens intuition, regulates the nervous system, and helps transform the experience of healing. Where Reiki meets science, intuition meets practice, and healing becomes more human. If you're curious about Reiki, drawn to deeper healing, or seeking a more connective and intuitive way to care for yourself or others, you're in the right place. Let's begin. Imagine walking into physical therapy because your shoulder hurts. But by the end of the session, not only does your body feel better, but your mind feels calmer too. What if healing wasn't only about muscles and joints, but also about the nervous system, emotional stress, and the body's ability to feel safe enough to heal? Welcome back to Healing Waves Reiki podcast. Today, we're talking about something many people may be curious about. What does Reiki actually look like inside a physical therapy session? Because for many people, Reiki sounds mysterious until they actually experience it. And the truth is, most Reiki in healthcare settings look very gentle, very grounded, and very practical. It's not dramatic. It's not theatrical, and it's never a replacement for medical care. Instead, Reiki can become a supportive layer within a healing environment, helping the body shift from stress and guarding into a state where healing may happen more naturally. So today, I want to walk you through what a session can actually feel like, both for the patient and for the clinician. Imagine a patient walks into physical therapy. Maybe they have chronic neck tension, back pain, anxiety around movement, nervous system overwhelm, or pain that never fully settles down. And something important happens before treatment even begins. The therapist listens, not just to symptoms, but to the whole person, because healing is never only physical. The body carries stress, fear, grief, exhaustion, holding patterns, survival responses, and many people have been stuck in fight or flight for so long that their nervous system no longer remembers how to soften. The physical therapy portion may include movement assessment, posture evaluation, stretching, strengthening, manual therapy, breathwork, gait training, pain science education, everything evidence-based and clinically appropriate. But sometimes a therapist notices something deeper. The body is resisting relaxation. The muscles stay guarded. The breathing stays shallow. The nervous system stays activated. And this is where Reiki may gently enter the session. And here's the interesting part. From the outside, Reiki can look incredibly simple. The therapist may place their hands lightly near the shoulders, at the head, over the upper back, near the knees or feet, or sometimes slightly off the body. The room becomes quieter. The pace slows. The patient breathes. And often the body begins responding. Not because anyone is forcing healing, but because the nervous system may finally feel safe enough to shift. Some people report warmth, heaviness, tingling, emotional release, deep calm, spontaneous breathing changes, or a sense of floating or peace. Others simply feel relaxed. And sometimes the most profound thing is this. For the first time in a long time, their body stops bracing. Now, depending on your perspective, you may interpret Reiki differently. Some see it spiritually, some energetically, some through the lens of nervous system regulation. But what we do know is this. The body heals differently in states of safety than in states of stress. When the nervous system shifts out of chronic survival mode, muscles may release, breathing deepens, heart rate slows, pain perception can change, and healing environments improve. Modern healthcare is increasingly recognizing the importance of regulation, presence, touch, and whole person care because humans are not machines. We are physical, emotional, mental, and relational beings all at once. So let me paint a picture for you. A patient comes in with chronic shoulder pain. They've tried everything. Exercises help temporarily, but the tension keeps returning. During the session, the therapist notices every time the shoulder is touched, the patient unconsciously braces. Their jaw tightens, their breathing stops. So instead of pushing harder, the therapist slows down. They guide the patient into breathing. Gentle hands rest near the shoulders. Nothing forceful, nothing invasive. And slowly, the nervous system responds. The shoulder drops half an inch. The breath deepens. The patient says, I don't know why, but I suddenly feel emotional. And sometimes that moment matters just as much as the exercise prescription, because healing is not always about forcing the body. Sometimes it's about creating the conditions where the body no longer feels it has to protect itself. And I also want to speak directly to the clinicians listening right now, because one of the biggest hesitations around Reiki in healthcare is this idea. I don't have time for that. Or that sounds separate from what I already do. And honestly, that concern makes sense. Healthcare professionals are already overwhelmed. Schedules are packed. Documentation is endless. Patients are complex. So when people hear Reiki, they sometimes imagine adding an entirely new hour-long process onto an already impossible day. But integrating Reiki inside clinical care often doesn't look like adding more. Sometimes it looks like changing the quality of what is already happening, because many clinicians are already doing pieces of this work naturally. Think about it. Slowing a patient's breathing before a painful movement, grounding someone who is anxious, placing a reassuring hand on a shoulder, helping a patient feel safe enough to relax, creating calm presence in the room. That already changes outcomes. Reiki can simply become a more intentional extension of therapeutic presence and nervous system regulation within the care that's already occurring. It may happen during manual therapy, while guiding breath work, during rest periods, at the end of a session, while helping a patient down-regulate after exercise. Sometimes it's 2 minutes. Sometimes it's woven seamlessly into existing treatment, not separate from care, but integrated into the atmosphere of care. And here's something important for clinicians to hear. You do not have to become a completely different kind of provider to bring healing presence into your sessions. You do not have to suddenly identify as alternative. And you do not need to perform something elaborate, because in many ways, You may already be doing parts of this every single day. Sometimes integrative healing looks like being fully present with a patient, listening without interrupting, holding space for emotion, allowing someone to speak without judgment, helping a patient feel seen instead of rushed, explaining what stress does to the body, educating patients about the autonomic nervous system, teaching them why their body may stay stuck in fight, flight, or freeze. That education alone can be profoundly healing because many patients think something is wrong with me, when in reality, their nervous system may simply be overwhelmed and overprotective. And the moment patients understand why they brace, why they hold tension, why pain can intensify under stress, why breathing changes symptoms, why safety matters in healing, their relationship with their body often begins to change. You can explain to patients that the autonomic nervous system has different states. When the body perceives danger or chronic stress, it can shift into survival responses, increased muscle tension, shallow breathing, elevated heart rate, heightened pain sensitivity, hypervigilance, fatigue, digestive disruption. And if that state continues long enough, the body can forget what regulation feels like. So part of healing may involve helping the nervous system relearn safety, not just structurally, but physiologically and emotionally too. And sometimes that process begins with something incredibly simple: a patient finally feeling heard. Presence is therapeutic. Calm is therapeutic. Safe human connection is therapeutic. Education is therapeutic. And whether a clinician formally uses Reiki or not, every provider has the ability to influence the nervous system environment in which healing occurs. Sometimes patients do not remember every exercise they were given, but they remember that was the first appointment where I finally exhaled. This is exactly why I created my continuing education courses, Reiki 1 for the physical therapist and healthcare practitioner, and Reiki 2 for the physical therapist and healthcare practitioner. These courses were designed specifically for licensed professionals who want a grounded, ethical, clinically relevant approach to Reiki integration, not to replace evidence-based care, but to complement it. We explore nervous system regulation, therapeutic presence, stress physiology, energetic awareness, patient communication, scope of practice, and practical ways Reiki can be integrated into healthcare settings without adding overwhelm to the clinician. Because this work does not need to feel separate from medicine or rehabilitation. It can become a part of a more compassionate, regulated, whole person model of care. Now, it's important to understand Reiki should never replace appropriate medical care, physical therapy evaluation, or evidence-based treatment. And ethical practitioners stay grounded in scope of practice, consent, and patient-centered care. Reiki is best viewed as a complementary support, one possible tool that may help relaxation, regulation, and the healing environment. Maybe the future of healing is not choosing between science and presence. Maybe it's remembering that humans need both: clinical skill and compassion, movement and stillness, treatment and connection. And perhaps sometimes healing begins the moment the body feels finally safe enough to let go. Thank you for being with me here today on the Healing Waves Reiki podcast. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone curious about integrative healing and whole person care. And if you are a healthcare professional interested in learning more, you can explore my courses, Reiki 1 for the physical therapist and healthcare practitioner, and Reiki 2 for the physical therapist and healthcare practitioner. Until next time, breathe deeply, move gently, and stay open to healing in all of its forms. Thank you for listening to the Healing Waves Reiki podcast. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who may need it. Subscribe and leave a review so more people can find this work. Until next time, stay grounded, stay open, and keep healing. This podcast is intended for informational, educational, and inspirational purposes only. The content shared on this podcast is not medical, psychological, legal, or professional advice, and is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any condition. Always seek the guidance of a qualified healthcare provider, mental health professional, or other licensed professional regarding your specific needs. The views expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the host. Listener discretion and personal responsibility are advised.